Hi everyone, my name is Rubin. I'm the CEO and founder of Model Citizen, and I'm the Chief Excel Officer of Excel Cloud. Today I'm going to walk you through a really cool end of financial year budgeting process for those that are using Xero and of course our favorite tool, Excel. Let's jump into it. It's end of financial year here in Australia, and a lot of work goes into preparing the annual operating plan, or AOP, or the budget. There's a lot of work that goes into that process. And I guess one of the things that we always like to do in Model Citizen is try to streamline and automate that process. So what I'm going to show you today is actually pretty exciting. We've recently developed this to try and accelerate your ability to manage all the data, to manage actuals out of Xero, upload to the budget manager, and then pull that back down again. So the entire process I'm going to walk through quickly with you. And of course, we use Excel Cloud to do a lot of that, but a lot of the functionality and the features that are in these workbooks, you can use without Excel Cloud if that's what you want. But of course, it'll take you a lot longer because some of the pulling of the information is more automated. I'm hoping that you're going to really get blown away by this and explore ways to do your work in the annual operating planning process, which is coming up very soon. So we're in June at the moment. 30 June's around the corner, and if you need to roll forward, get some actuals, do next year, I'm going to do all of that very quickly. So let's dive in and take a look. So we start off with Xero. So as you can see, on Xero, I'm in the budget manager. In here, I've got Excel Cloud Training as my Xero file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new budget, which I'm going to call my AOP FY26. 12 months of actuals, which is July 24 of last year, up until next year as well, which is 24 months. So we have actuals coming in our budget, because what we want to do with Xero is we want to be able to compare the forecast and actuals all in one budget file, but also ultimately also manage that and compare that across prior periods. I've created that. I'm going to click Update, selected July, and that's all ready and set up. If you've ever used Excel, of course you'd be using Export to Excel for your budget manager. We're going to export that file. Now typically this will take a lot of time and a lot of manipulation when you're starting to open that up in Excel, and you'll see that all of these cells here you need to manually update and all the rest. But what we've done is we've actually automated that process. Your chart of accounts of course needs to be aligned. But what we're going to do here is we're just going to go Control C. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my budget management workbook, which we've set up. Of course, you will get access to that. And we've got an exciting promotion, which I'll talk about later. I'm just going to paste that in because just to say like that is our AOP for FY26. And what we've done here is we've used some fancy new Excel formulas, TEXTBEFORE, and we've used some dynamic arrays. So that allows us to roll forward the budget, get all the information, and then we can use this file to then upload into Xero, which I'll do in a moment. So this file, as you can see, it's going to have information coming from Xero. I'm going to click Get, which is obviously just getting the list of all the clients. I'm going to focus on June 2025, which is the end of this financial year. I'm going to go 12 periods back. And again, you can do this all manually in Xero. I'm not trying to pitch Excel Cloud to you, but ultimately you can do this all manually or you can use Excel Cloud, it's your choice. But what you would do is you would extract your actuals out of Xero and then you do all the calculations. This is going to do a lot of that for you. So what we've got is 12 periods, historical, 12 periods of forecast. I'm going to select my Excel Cloud Training Xero file and I'm going to click Pull. And that's just going to confirm that I'm pulling 12 periods of actuals. And this is the process which I guess you can do manually. You can go to your actuals, your P&L, you can select the 12 months and you can export. But then you've got to do all the calculations and all the logic and everything else. So what we can see in this file straight away is we've pulled all the data into this table. We have a nice little pivot table which you can slice and dice in, and it's pulled actuals. Again, we are using some really cool dynamic arrays. We're using unique in this instance. So, you can use all of these formulas in your own workbook. You don't need to use our Excel Cloud workbook. We don't lock down the workbook. you can use it and follow some of these cool formulas and functions. So the other thing is we then use a SUMIF, or SUMIFS in this case. So same thing, we can then pull across the time period those items. So once you've got our actuals, we then jump to our forecast and say, okay, what growth do we want? So let's say we want 5% growth, and I'm just going to add to that, and then maybe there's a 3% growth in cost. So 5% growth in revenue, 3% increase in costs. But let's say, for instance, January. We know January can be quite a low month of activity given it's the holiday period. So really, 114 against 96. You can see December's already depressed, but I reckon January will go down even further. So we can overwrite the Jan number here. So we can come to January and we can just say, well, let's make it 40,000. We'll put 10,000, Control Enter. And then when we go to our forecast, we can see that that is in there. Actually, there's another one there. So let's just go and make that 0. We'll overwrite that. So it allows us to really shape the budget based on the activity and seasonality with doing a quick high level last year plus a growth rate with some shaping. Now, this is not a full driver-based model. And of course, if you're going to do that, you would do something else. But this is just to get you started and get something out of the blocks to then go and have a conversation about where you think things are going to land on a product basis or volume and price. But it's really, really useful to start there. So now we've got our forecast, July to June, from July 25 to June 26. Moving on, we're now going to combine our actuals and our forecast. And again, we're using that with a dynamic array, a really cool formula called H-stack, which is a horizontal stack. So we're stacking the actuals, which we've got, with the forecast, all in one formula. So look, these dynamic arrays are incredible. They're really, really going to revolutionize the amount of time you spend. So we're having our full actuals for the 12 months, and then we can see again, we've got some of those numbers coming through. So now we're going to have that in our budget preparation file. So this is the file that is ultimately going to make its way into the output file, which again, we're going to upload into Xero. So what we can see from a financial and calendar year, we can see that split because 30 June in Australia, but some people in the business who are not accountants like to think about calendar years. We've got both of those there. Focus on the 892,000. We'll come back to that number time and time again. So if we look at our budget preparation file, we can go all the way across and all the way down, and we can see our 892,000 down here. So we are now ready to go and upload this AOP for FY26 into Xero. So we can't upload this whole file. So I'm going to go right click and I'm going to move and copy, and I'm going to put that into a new workbook. So I'm going to click OK. Now, what that's done is it's moved this workbook. Now we've got all of these external links, and of course we don't want to have external links. So we're going to go Data, Workbook Links, and then we're going to break all of these links. So now by breaking all of these links, what that does is it makes us a standalone workbook. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and let's go and put it onto our desktop, for example, just for the moment. You might want to save it in a particular folder, and we're going to go AOP FY26, enter. The standard template file doesn't have the first two columns. We've used that because, of course, we need to use our dynamic arrays, our index match, and you can use XLOOKUP, you can look VLOOKUP, it doesn't really matter. We just like to use our dynamic array formulas. And we're going to delete that because that's not in the template that we download. So if we go back to that template that we downloaded before, we'll notice that it's slightly different to that, but ultimately it's got all the numbers now. So this has got all the numbers done for us. The formulas are still there. Everything else is still working. And so now we can save that file. Let's quickly jump back into Xero. So now we say, okay, well, we've got that file. Now let's go import. So we select import, and now we're going to go back to our desktop. So we're going to go to our desktop file. We're going to select AOP FY26. We're going to import it. It's going to confirm that we've got 41 accounts that we're going to be updating. So that's correct. We're going to click confirm, and there you have it. It is now in Xero, uploaded with FY25 and FY26. So if we just have a quick look again, there is our 892,107. So that's all cool. So literally that was what? A couple of minutes that we've done this work in, which normally would take absolute ages. And some of the smarts and the formulas that we've used, again, you can do this with your own workbooks and use this process and template as you need. But just recognize when you change your chart of accounts, the budget manager has to change as well. And then the process needs to change in how you link all those formulas. So we've just uploaded our budget into Xero. What we want to do now is to actually pull it back down because we want to build other reports and other analysis. And Xero is good to store the budget. Some people don't store the budget in Xero. They actually store their budget in Excel or somewhere else. But I like to store it in somewhere where I know people can't touch it. And then you're trying to find the different versions. And I think the reason people don't store it in Xero is because it's just so clunky and difficult to do. But of course, with this process, you can use our formulas and you can create it in your own way, and hopefully it's quicker. So let's pull down the budget and let's reconcile. So we're going to go June 2026. We're going to pull down 24 months going back. So obviously now we're going to pull down the budget because we're going to then compare that to actuals, for example, in some of our reports if we need to. So we're going to get our list of entities and organizations. We're going to select Excel Cloud Training for our Xero file. Pull the name budget because there's different budgets that are in the list. Here we're going to select our AOP FY26, which we've just uploaded into Xero. We're going to select that and click pull. So once again, this is not about just using Excel Cloud. You can use whatever tool you want. It just automates that process. So now we've pulled down the AOP. You can see it in the budget name. This is already in a table. There's a nice little pivot table. And there again is our 892,207. So we have all that information. And now we can build other analysis and track this against other reports. So this is a really, really powerful process to bring all of these elements together. So you're going from your Xero into Excel, doing some really smarts around dynamic arrays and lookups and adding some growth rates and tweaking certain elements. And then you bringing that back straight into your budget file and uploading that into Xero as well. Happy end of financial year in a couple of weeks' time. I hope you all have a great time. It's a very difficult and stressful time for accounting and finance professionals, but it's really, really an awesome time to explore tools and how do you automate the process? How do you make the process easier for yourself so that you're not so stressed and you can have better conversations with customers. So stay tuned and we will be offering this entire workbook structure, everything on it for free for the end of financial year for a few weeks post end of financial year. So make sure you grab a copy, watch the video. You can use Excel Cloud. You don't have to use Excel Cloud. You can do whatever you want. You can use some of our formulas and explore some of these really cool dynamic array formulas that we have built. And ultimately, the better you become, the more streamlined you are, the more you can focus on other value-adding activities like modeling, like valuations, like influencing stakeholder decisions around where they invest their money for the year, how they expand their business, what marketing channels, all of these business questions that finance and accounting professionals would be useful to help in answering, but they're still tied up in doing the process. This process will help you, and stay tuned for more and more cool tips. Thanks everyone. Stay safe.